The Supreme Court spent more than 3 hours hearing a petition seeking to allow same-sex marriages here in the country.
But the justices asked the petitioner, was there really a case? Dale De Vera is on the ground at the Supreme Court to give us a recap. Dale, what do you have for us there, pare?
Sean Charles, in a historic first, the Supreme Court entertained and heard a plea seeking to allow a same-sex marriage in the Philippines. No one, regardless of gender or sexual preference, should be treated as second-class citizens in their own land. This was how petitioner Attorney Jesus Falsis III highlighted his case before the magistrates of the court. Falsis argued that nothing in the Constitution limits the definition of marriage as between man and woman. He is seeking to invalidate the first two articles of the Family Code, which expressly state that marriage is a special contract of a permanent union between a man and a woman only. He is impleading the Civil Registrar General, saying it should be restrained from enforcing contested portions of the Family Code for the processing of applications for and issuing marriage licenses against homosexual couples. Falsi says these provisions run counter to constitutionally protected rights to due process, equal protection, decisional privacy, and right to found a family in accordance with religious convictions. Falsis defended his arguments for over 3 hours. He presented the case of co-petitioners Crescencio Agbayani and Marlon Felipe, who've been partners for 12 years already. Falsi says in the eyes of the law, they are only considered strangers. He wants the likes of Agbayani and Felipe to enjoy the benefits granted to heterosexual marriages. He also says same-sex couples have the capacity to establish conjugal family life just like their heterosexual counterparts. The Civil Registrar General is represented by the Office of the Solicitor General, which argued that the petitioner is not asking for an affirmative relief, but only wants an advisory opinion on the matter, a view shared by Associate Justice Lucas Bersamin. Bersamin also asked Falsis, where is the actual case or controversy in the petition? Justice Marvic Leonin warned Falsis about the possible dangers of the case, saying it requires an intimate reading of the Constitution. Associate Justice Estela Perlas Bernabe meanwhile asked Falsis why he chose to go to the High Court and not ask Congress to pass a law. Falsis said marriage is a fundamental right that cannot be subjected to political whims. Here are excerpts of Tuesday's oral arguments on the petition to legalize same-sex marriage.
When the Constitution says no person shall be denied equal protection of the laws, and that the state values the dignity of every human person, the Constitution requires any couple, regardless of their sex or gender, to be recognized as having the right to marry, because they are similarly situated, because any couple needs marriage to serve as the foundation of their family. And so we must ask, what is marriage? The freedom to choose her status, which is a privilege that inheres in her as an intangible and inalienable right.
Don't you think this is a political question that should be left to the discretion of Congress?
We are of the opinion, like the question by Justice Leonin, that while it may be desirable for Congress to be the one to enact a law allowing same-sex marriage, Your Honors, our submission is that first, fundamental rights cannot be subjected to the political winds or to popular elections, Your Honor. And we are guided by the pronouncement in Angladlad versus Comelec or in other more recent cases that this court does not make decisions based on popularity.
Sean Charles, at the end of the day, the petitioners only wanted one thing, that's acceptance, that the LGBT community is no different from the heterosexuals who also love and are loved and may also build a family. Meanwhile, the busy days here at the Supreme Court is far from over, as 9 nominees for the Ombudsman post will be grilled by the Judicial and Bar Council. Among those who will be interviewed by the JBC are Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III and Associate Justice Samuel Martirez. The successful nominee will take over the position that will be vacated by Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales as she retires this July.